What's up, friends? Welcome into another episode of Tables, Tailgates, and Top Loaders. I am your host, TB. So happy to have you aboard for another episode of the 3Ts. Thank you very much for stopping in and checking out the podcast. So much to get to. I know it's been a minute. I have missed a week, missed the game preview, which I had told you was going to happen. Got away for a little bit with my wife, took some time away, and as a result, by the time I got back into town, there was just not enough time to get really an episode out. But, you know, in looking back at the last two games of the Buffalo Bills, which is where I'm going to start, I'm kind of glad that I took that break, because had I done a game preview of the Texans, I would have told you that I really wasn't going to be too concerned. Well, I'm kind of glad I didn't do that, because as it turns out, I had every reason to be concerned, because the offense got their asses handed to them for 60 minutes down in Texas. So yeah, Mafia, you are on the clock. How are you feeling? Has everyone talked themselves off the ledge since the Thursday night loss at the hands of the Texans and the backup quarterback? That is Davis Mills. I don't know. It's so frustrating because we're coming off the game against Tampa Bay Bucks at home in Orchard Park. My wife and I were at that game, and it was a great game. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of offensive firepower, and coming out of that game, number one, we felt pretty confident. Number two, it was nice to see the offense kind of explode and, you know, other players step up. Tyrell Shavers had a big game and everyone's singing his praises, and it was like, oh, the offense is back on track, yada, yada. Now the defense, they didn't really show up. They let up a lot of points to Baker, but we kind of knew that was going to happen because Baker just is a gunslinger and has a don't quit, never say die attitude, and they brought it. So it was a really fun game to be at. Not a lot of drama going on in the stands. So like I said, we left. Everyone's feeling great. Everyone's kind of riding high. And short week, head down to Texas, and we get just smashed. The offense doesn't even get off the plane. And it's like Miami all over again, except kind of worse, because this time we thought our offensive line, which was supposed to be a strength of this team, they just got manhandled, just absolutely manhandled. So the life of a Bills fan lately, it's like getting on a roller coaster. It's just so frustrating because there's no consistency. I don't know. So I'm thinking about, you know, what I want to talk about with this team, and I'm writing notes, and I don't know. I kind of got a lot of stuff, but I just wrote down roller coaster. Like, we get smashed by the Dolphins, the whole trade deadline fiasco, and then no one thinks we're going to do anything going into the Tampa Bay Bucks game. And I joked that, you know, I did a real quick game preview podcast, the last 5 minutes of the regular 3Ts. And I joked that we were going to lose 415-6. And like, obviously that didn't happen. We go on, we beat the Bucks, but then to have this kind of letdown on a Thursday night. Now I get it, short week, but it's just like, we had this idea that the offense was fixed, and Gabe Davis is here to save the day. Tyrell Shavers is emerging as another option. Josh Palmer is back. And, you know, we thought, oh, here, the benching of Keon Coleman, this is going to solve all our problems. And so we go into the short week. We knew the Texans had a tough defense, but our emotions were riding high, and then smash. And it's an offensive disaster yet again. Just a disaster. You take out the kick return, which, shout out to Ray Davis on his birthday, takes one to the house for the tutty, which is awesome. But you take that out, and the offense does nothing. They have one James Cook tutty and a couple field goals. And I'm like, what is this? What is this? So it's just another offensive disaster yet again. You know, it's hard to even talk about the defense, because let's look at the Houston game. The first half, the defense was putrid, just putrid. This is what we've seen time and time again. We saw it with Atlanta. The first half, they get absolutely gashed. We got players dropping left and right. We got Joey Bosa, I've called him before, the one-armed bandit. He can't seem to do anything. But these guys are out there like just balling, and they are getting trucked up and down the first half. And then they come out, they make some adjustments. They are held together with like duct tape, and they come out in the second half and they played their asses off, and they held the Texans to 3 points in the second half. So while, yes, there are problems on the defensive side of the ball, again, we talked about this. You're holding your opponent to under 25 points, and you're expecting the offense to show up and do their part. And the offense absolutely did nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm watching this game Thursday night. Now, oh my God, the commentary was terrible. Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit, he doesn't even act like he knows who any of these players are. He doesn't know anyone's names. It's just crazy. But anyway, it's like becoming a joke when the game announcers are literally saying to the world, to the nation, whoever's watching the game, that the Bills have no plays, that they're just running the same plays over and over again. And now this is probably the third or fourth week I've heard similar commentary. I know Tony Romo was talking about it, and now you have this for this game. So I talked about it a week ago, about how the offense has 5 plays. And now with the benching of Keon, you take that 50-50 ball down the sideline to Keon Coleman. You take that out of the repertoire, and now we're down to 4 plays. Holy cow, we are in some offensive woes. If I don't even know the right word, but everyone got crazy about Tyrell Shavers after the Bucs game, and where was he for the Texans? I didn't even know he played. Didn't even know he played. Did he get a target? Because he sure didn't catch anything. And so we go back to those 4 plays now, and the number one play we have, because they abandoned the run game, which while it wasn't stellar, it just appeared like they just had no interest in even trying to establish some sort of run game, which made no sense because the one thing we could have attacked on the Texans was running the ball up the middle, which, hey, if you go back to my 4 or 5 plays that Joe Brady loves to call, it's a Cook run right up the middle. So they took that out. They abandoned that. So the only plays we had left were throw it to Shakir and pray. And for the longest part of that game, he almost had, negative yards until he broke a big one. And I'm just like, what is going on with this play calling? What is going on with the play calling? And then this Josh Allen running for his life, which is play 4 or 5, however you want to look, because we're eliminating the 50-50 ball. That Josh Allen runs for his life, and now he's taking these ridiculous sacks where he's given up 10, 12, 18 yards on a sack, just running like he's never played the game before. So I don't know what I'm watching. It's so frustrating, and this is why I wrote down the word roller coaster, because we're flying high after the Bucs game, and then we come in here on a short week looking to have a nice kind of a mini buy, mini reset, and a nice Thanksgiving break. And then we have Thanksgiving, and then we go to Pittsburgh, which everyone looks forward to kind of beating the Steelers. Well, this game was just dreadful. It was just dreadful. The offensive line, what the heck am I watching with this offensive line? They were terrible. Now, Spencer Brown, to his credit, he played his ass off, and he's being held together with I don't know what the coaching staff saw that they thought keeping him out there, despite working so hard to maintain some semblance of solid play on the right side, but he's getting torched because he can't use half his body. You're telling me that they can't put in the backup tackle for Spencer Brown? They waited so long into this game to take Spencer Brown off the field. He was turning into a turnstile. I'm watching plays where literally 2 or 3 offensive linemen on our team are literally falling on the ground immediately upon impact from the defensive player. They're just getting pancaked. These guys are just getting trucked. And it was the worst offensive line showing I think I've seen in quite some time. Definitely by these 5. Holy cow. Dion Dawkins, you want to talk about the false start at the end of the game? Well, there were plays before where it looked like he was quitting in the middle of the play. And I find it very ironic that he probably had one of his worst games I've ever seen a week after he basically called out Keon and was talking about being accountable and being, he needed to really correct his attitude and it's time for him to step up. And then Keon, after getting the key to the city of Buffalo, Dion, after getting the key, calling out Keon, and then he goes and gives this dog crap performance. So it was just I don't know. I feel like I'm in crazy town half the time with this team because there's no consistency. You don't know what to expect one week to another. And my God, the play calling is so bad. If the announcers of the game are calling it out that they only have a handful of plays, what are we doing? And then kind of the turning point, James Cook rips off this nice run. We had a good chance to actually, get back in the game. And it's 4 straight runs to James Cook when he's literally trying to come off the field, telling the staff, hey, I am absolutely gassed. You need to put Davis in here. You need to put Ty Johnson. And they're like, no. Go back out there. And they just keep handing the ball to Cook. And the 4th down play, he's literally blown up in the backfield because our offensive line is just putrid this game. So it's just like there's problem after problem. And they couldn't get the play call in quick enough. You see Josh Allen for the first time in quite some time. I can't remember the last time that he's getting physically pissed off on the sidelines. He's smashing his helmet. Everyone knows this clip, but he's like, what are we doing? He says it to Mitch Trubisky. What are we doing? And so if you're starting quarterback who is literally the face of the franchise is calling out the coaching staff, specifically Joe Brady and his play calling, we got problems. But I'm not excusing Josh Allen either because he played like dog crap. You want to talk about the turnovers? The one I'll kind of put to the side, but he's just making bad decisions. And this sack nonsense, he was under fire, and yes, he was under fire the entire game. It was some ridiculous number, like 28 pressures. He took 8 sacks in this game, and which accounted for negative 70 yards. That's almost an entire drive worth of plays. 8 for minus 70? Are you kidding me? The one time we had like a 3rd and 6 or a 3rd and 4, and he takes like an 18-yard sack. And I'm just like, that is unacceptable. That's a first or second year Josh Allen mistake. You can't be doing that. What is this, week 8 or year 8, year 9? I mean, what the heck are we doing that is acceptable? Just throw the ball away. And this idea that I don't know what Joe's doing, what Joe Brady's doing. He's not making any sort of changes during the game. He is not adapting at all. Like, your quarterback is taking shot after shot. He's running for his life. He's putting the ball in harm's way. He's making bad decisions because he has no time to throw, and you won't change up your protection schemes. You won't make adjustments to your play calling. You won't go max protection. You won't bring extra people in the backfield. Why ever in this game should Josh have been lined up out of shotgun with no help, and we're running 5 wide with it's just mind-boggling to me how Joe Brady still has a job on this team. It's just mind-boggling. I don't understand, because we saw what happened early in the game. Josh took that nasty hit from behind. It looked to me like he completely got the wind knocked out of him, and he flips over and he's kind of writhing in pain and he's kicking his legs. And I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. But he bounced up and recovered from that one. But week to week, I have no clue what this offense is. No clue at all. At the start of the year, it was like, okay, we're going to go ground and pound, and we're just feeding James Cook, and he's ripping off 120, 150 yards a game, 2 tutties, and it's, we're 4-0. But now, what is the identity of this team at all? Like, what do we want to be known for? Outside of our injuries and no one could stay on the field, and what is the direction of this team? What is the identity of this team? There's nothing we hang our hat on and go, yeah, now we're suddenly really, really good at this. And it's so frustrating because I keep coming back to this Joe Brady thing. I just think they missed an opportunity. I don't know. The writing, it seems like the writing's been on the wall, and it's just so frustrating. I think he needs to go. I don't think if he makes it through the rest of the season, I don't think he's coming back, and that's fine at this point. And we used to worry about him getting a head coaching job. What team in their right mind is going to hire him to be their head coach, seeing the scripts that he is putting out on the field the last 5 games of the year? Or just take the whole year in account. It's like he can't ever find anything in moderation. He's got to spam the same play over and over again. Or it's 80% James Cook, or it's 80% throws. There can't never be any, complimentary football, which I'm so freaking sick and tired of hearing that phrase. But it's like, hey, post-game press conference, oh, we didn't play complimentary football. Yeah, no crap. You got the crap kicked out of you. I don't know. And now it's really starting to look bad. We always talk about, Brandon Beade's great because he signs his own players. I'm looking at some of these guys that he's re-signed for long-term deals. So you have Christian Benford, Gregory Rousseau, Terrell Bernard. These guys are locked up long-term. And have any of these guys played up to their extensions? Rousseau. When is the last time you saw Rousseau make a significant play, a significant impact on the defensive side of the ball? I don't know. And now Terrell Bernard's hurt. Who knows if he's going to be able to play? Christian Benford looks like a shell of himself. I mean, what are we doing? But we got these three guys locked up for quite some time on the defensive side of the ball. Josh Palmer, we signed him for a 3-year deal. He can't seem to catch anything. I'm like, what? We talked about it. We talked about the trade deadline disaster, and I told you when Brandon Beane sat on his hands and did nothing and didn't pull the trigger for Jalen Waddle, didn't pull the trigger for Chris Olave or Brian Thomas Jr., I came out and I told you after that fiasco, I said there is zero margin for error now on this team. There is no place to make mistakes. And what do we find ourselves in right now? What do we find ourselves? You have to play perfectly to win the game. This is the team we have. What confidence do you have as a member of the Mafia going forward to say this team can, they're clearly going on the road in the playoffs. Clearly. There's no AFC East crown this year. Sorry to tell you. So that's over and done with. I wanted to say 4 weeks ago, hey, pump the brakes on the Patriot crowning, but hey, congrats. New England's going to run away with this. Now, maybe they can rattle off a couple more losses and they come back down to earth and the game in New England actually means something, but it's possible that we're going to be out of this for the East in a couple weeks if we blow another game. No AFC East crown, which means no home playoff games. And I'm looking at this team and saying, does this team actually have a chance to go on the road and win 3 straight road playoff games? Holy cow. They can't win in Miami. They can't win in Houston. How are they going to win in some of these playoff team stadiums? I don't know. And it's so frustrating. So frustrating. Oh, and now we have kind of a mini bye, so we have extra time to kind of sit in this one, sit and stew, because I would much rather kind of, hey, let's wash this away. Let's get right back on the field. Let's have another game and kind of refocus. But no, we get to sit in it. Not only do we get to watch this Sunday's games, which there's kind of a lot on the line here, but then you have the Thanksgiving game and the Black Friday game, and there's a lot of football to be played before the Bills retake the field. And I'm sitting here going, is there any hope for change on this team? Any hope at all? We want to talk about Joe Brady. Is there any hope that he gets canned right now? No, it's never going to happen. McDermott doubled down. He said he has faith and trust in his coach, and he thinks he's still a good coach, and he just needs to be some adjustments. And holy cow, how many times are we going to say this? And then I'm hearing Joe Brady's press conference, and I'm just like, he talks about, oh, yeah, the Texans, they were able to get pressure on us. He acts like he didn't know that they had one of the best defensive lines, specifically edge rushers, duos in the league. He acts like he didn't know that prior to the game. That's the way I interpreted what he says in his press conferences. And this is not the first time that he sounds like an absolute buffoon in these post-game press conferences. I talked about it before with you, about how the one time he's like, there's nothing wrong with our offense. Our passing game's fine. Look, we did it in Baltimore, which was like 8 weeks ago at that point. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Is there any hope for change during the season? No, probably not. Off season? Now, I don't think Joe Brady's back, but you want to talk about the head coach, the general manager, like McDermott, Brandon Beane?
I mean, if I were a betting man, I would put my money that McDermott's back. Hands down, there's no question McDermott is coming back. He's going to be the coach. So all these people clamoring for McDermott to be cut loose and shipped out of town, I don't see that happening. Now, maybe Pagula makes a change, but I mean, look at the way he handles his hockey team. If we're using that as any indication, I mean, he holds on to people way too long. I mean, how long has the general manager of the Sabres been allowed to wreck shop and destroy that franchise? So I don't know, but there's no chance McDermott's gone. But I think he needs to bring in a new coordinator, and I think he needs some new ideas coming out of the front office. I think we need to be a little more progressive. I think we need to maybe change up some of our defensive ideas too. So I don't know. What the heck do I know? It's just very frustrating. So we got 6 games left in the season, 6 games. Obviously, Pittsburgh's coming up. We're in Pittsburgh, and they got a good defense. So if we don't scheme up a way to slow down Watt, I mean, we could be in for another long day of Josh running around for his life. I can't take these negative plays. And then we're back home to Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's coming back. I know he was looking like he might play this weekend against New England. Well, that's not happening. He's not suiting up. So probably he'll play in that Buffalo game. I know they went ahead and changed the time to 4:15 all the way back to 1 o'clock, which really screwed me. But well, thanks for that. But and then they're in New England and in Cleveland. Now, Cleveland's kind of a train wreck right now, but Shedeur Sanders, I'm not saying that we're going to lose, but that Cleveland has a good defense. And then the Eagles, and then finally the Jets. Can anyone guarantee 3 wins? Can we guarantee 4 wins? Are we going to hit, 11-6? Is that the goal, to get to 11-6 in a wild card game? Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy to think about it. When the schedule originally came out, people were like, 14 wins, 15 wins. First round bye, number 1 seed, AFC. Here we go. This is the time. And now look, we're talking about us as a wild card team with really no chance for the East crown. It's very, very frustrating. But there's one more thing I kind of want to talk about, and I don't know. I kind of was on the fence about this. Is there an attitude problem with the Bills team? And I don't mean like guys just have like bad attitudes, but it's just like, is there a sense of entitlement that has kind of crept in, kind of complacency over the last 5 years of kind of expecting these lower level teams to just come into town or us to go there and kind of just these lower tier teams to just lay down and die because, here come the Buffalo Bills, right? And they've been, outside of the Chiefs, they've been one of the 2-3 best teams in the AFC East now for five years. So is this idea that they're just better than everyone and they can just simply show up and the results will take care of themselves on the field? Because that's what I'm kind of seeing. And then they get destroyed. And then it's like, no, now they got to go back to the drawing board and kind of dig down deep again. And I'm not saying it is, but I just started thinking about this as I'm watching the Texans game and the Miami game and just hearing some of the post-game comments about how the other team wanted it more. That should never be the case. If you are a Super Bowl contender, there should never be a game that you say afterwards that the other team wanted it more. I'm sorry, that's inexcusable at this time. So yeah, you want to look at the coaching staff and whatnot, but what is the overall mentality of this team? We talk about they had hard knocks and all eyes on the Bills, and it's been this way since kind of the tide has shifted and we're doing more nationally televised games and they're in the spotlight. There's all this national recognition. Josh wins the MVP. He's been a contender now for the last few years and AFC championship games and really high-profile losses in the playoffs. And then Super Bowl favorites. I mean, how many national lists were the Bills not in the top 1 to 2 to 3 teams of Super Bowl contending teams this year? And so it just carries this attitude of, I don't know what I'm watching. And I think that's part of the frustration. Do these guys really have a sense of self now that they think these lesser teams should just lay down and die? They can get up for the Chiefs. They played great for the Chiefs. And then we saw last week against the Bucs, like Josh was fired up. That team was fired up. And that was a great high impact, guns blazing, awesome game to watch. But then you get games like the Falcons game and you get games like the Dolphins game and just what we saw the Texans game. Now the Texans are no slouch. They should have been prepared. But it's like, Davis Mills is a quarterback? Well, we got this. This is in the bag. I just feel like the lack of effort and this overall mentality, this attitude of expecting this other team to just not show up. And it's led to these downright embarrassing performances. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. You guys can tell me what you think. I could be completely out in left field on this, but it's just something I'm starting to think about. With all the extracurriculars going on, you're seeing all these guys, specifically Allen. He's in all these commercials. Now, I mean, how many times could you go through a Sunday and not see him in 3, 4, 5 commercials? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Look, there's a time and a place, and yeah, he's in the spotlight. He's one of the top players in the league, and he should be the focal point. You know, he's the face of the franchise, but then the whole offseason with the marriage and then the hard knocks, and it's just like sometimes this can lead and promote an attitude or a grander sense of self. And maybe it's starting to creep in and kind of take hold of this team. Like they feel like they should just win because they've had success in the past. And I don't want to fall into that. Years past, it's been, we're the underdog. No one believes in us. I much prefer that story than being out as a front runner. when everyone expects you to just crush cats, and then you get embarrassed by the Dolphins and the Texans, and it's like, what the heck is wrong with you? It's just the lack of effort and the quit. I never want to see that on my football team. Never. I don't know. Just wanted to throw that out there. But all right, that's enough. I think we're done with the Mafia. There's only so much you could say, but I've talked enough about that. Now I want to turn my attention to the Squared Circle. Yeah, I'm super excited. Wrestling Marks, how are we feeling? Survivor Series is coming up. It is on the clock, actually. We are 2 days after Thanksgiving. Survivor Series is hitting your screen. Survivor Series WarGames. So I wanted to get in that DeLorean. I told you I was going to do it. Survivor Series is one of the top 4 pay-per-views that WWE puts out each and every year. And I wanted to kind of do a deep dive and go all the way back to the beginning. So I popped in that DeLorean, fired it up, and headed all the way back to 1987 to the debut of Survivor Series. Now, I was 8 years old, and I was trying to remember the very first Survivor Series I actually remember watching. It definitely wasn't this one. But this is the second longest running pay-per-view behind WrestleMania. 1987, it was the debut of Survivor Series. This was coming off the heels of the hugely successful WrestleMania 3, Pontiac Silverdome. You see Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, the Body Slam heard around the world. So a few months later, so this would be November, on Thanksgiving Day, you see the debut of Survivor Series, the pay-per-view. And looking back through, because now we're in a long, long time of Survivor Series, there's only twice in the history of Survivor Series where there haven't been any tag elimination matches. These traditional Survivor Series rules matches. Now, what they did in the first, 20 some years of this, they assembled teams. It was, think of the Avengers, and you had your Avengers on one side and your bad guys on the other side. And so the matches were tag matches where you had 4 or 5 members to each team, and they would wrestle, and there would be a pinfall or a submission or a count out. And one thing I found looking back through is there was a lot of count outs. It was crazy. People were getting eliminated on count outs, which is insane if you think about it. There were only 2 times in the history of Survivor Series where there were 0 actual Survivor Series elimination matches, and the first happened in 1998. They took Survivor Series and they turned it into a 14-man tournament for a recently vacated WWF championship. And this was kind of a cool concept. There's a whole lot of nonsense going on with Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon, and there was Kane and The Undertaker and the Brothers of Destruction, and they were kind of working with Vince and maybe not working with Vince, and it was a whole ordeal. And then Austin gives up the belt, and then there's a issue between Kane and The Undertaker. Anyway, the title is vacated, so for Survivor Series, they ran a 14-man tournament, and that was the whole crux of the pay-per-view. And it came down to Rock versus Mankind. This was a long time ago. But so Rock versus Mankind, your main event for the vacated WWF Championship. The Rock at some point towards the end of the match, he puts Mankind in the sharpshooter. Now, if you remember the sharpshooter, this is the same move that HBK would put on Bret the Hitman Hart a year previous. 1997, Montreal, Canada, Survivor Series, the Montreal Screwjob, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But so Rock puts the sharpshooter, which is a submission hold, on Mankind, and Mankind doesn't even tap. But you see Vince getting involved, and he calls for the bell. He calls the refs to ring the bell without Mankind submitting, and it's a total play on what happened the year before with the Montreal Screwjob. And so Rock becomes your new WWF champion. That was the first time there were no elimination matches. And then the second was in 2002, so 4 years later. And this was because they debuted a brand new match, never before seen, which would go on to be one of my favorite matches of all time, the Elimination Chamber. Back then, they would have these specialty matches kind of baked into your pay-per-views. And so this was the debut of the Elimination Chamber. Now, if you know what the Elimination Chamber is, or if you never heard of it, Elimination Chamber is essentially, if you've ever seen a cage match, well, the Elimination Chamber is this dome-like cage structure that covers the entire ring, and on each corner of the ring, there is essentially a enclosed pod. So you have 4 pods in this structure, this cell structure, that completely encompasses the ring, and there's a little space, like grates, like a add-on in addition to where the ring canvas extends out past where the ring ropes are. So you have your ring canvas, and then on the outside of the ring, probably another 2-3 feet of just steel floor. Same level, right? And so you have 6 men, 4 in the pods surrounding the ring, and 2 start in the middle one-on-one. And then every 5 minutes, there's kind of a roulette wheel, right? And another member from one of the locked and closed pods gets released into the match. And what happens is it's an elimination match, hence the name Elimination Chamber. And then every time someone's pinned or submitted, they are forced to exit this structure. And the winner of the match is the one who survives all the pinfalls. And so they debuted this match in 2002. And you had Triple H, Chris Jericho, Kane, Booker T, Rob Van Dam, and Shawn Michaels in the very first elimination match, 2002. Shawn Michaels ends up winning, and we're off and running. And then eventually the Elimination Chamber becomes its own pay-per-view, which now traditionally is held before WrestleMania. And usually now, in the last, 5-6 years, probably longer than that, historically, the winner of the Elimination Chamber match goes on to get a shot at one of the titles at WrestleMania. But anyway, so those are the only 2 years, 1998 and 2002, where there was 0 traditional Survivor Series elimination matches. And then, of course, in 2022, we see kind of a change in philosophy, this whole WarGames thing, which is what we're coming up on next weekend. The WarGames is different. It's another structure, but they almost take 2 rings, they push them side by side, so they're literally forced right next to each other, and then they encompass and enclose the entire 2-ring structure with a cage. So instead of a single ring cage match, now you have a double ring cage match. On the outside, you have these 2 Shark Tank cages structures, which hold the teams, whether it's 4 or 5 players, or 4 or 5 wrestlers. Mostly it's 5 wrestlers. And what happens is, one at a time, 2 guys get released and they start in this double wrestling ring and they start fighting. And then, every 5 minutes, a new member comes out. So every other time there's a advantage for one team over the other. And it's no holds barred. You can use weapons, tables. It's total chaos. And so the match actually takes forever to actually start, because the whole start of the match doesn't begin until everyone is let out of these shark cages and actually makes it into the WarGames structure. So these are really convoluted, chaotic, kind of crazy matches. Like on average, they take probably an hour. This is kind of what they switched to. They got away from the traditional Survivor Series matches structure of the pay-per-view. And I've said it before, I kind of yearn for the old school Survivor Series matches. So anyway, debuted all the way back in 1987 on actual Thanksgiving Day. So this was crazy back then, because the first 4 years that the pay-per-view was running, so 1987 to 1990, Survivor Series took place on Thanksgiving. I know I've seen one of these live. I can't remember which one exactly, but so the debut, 1987, there's only 4 matches on the card, only 4 matches, and they're all Survivor Series matches. So you had 3 5-on-5 matches, 3 matches. Each match had one team of 5 versus another team of 5. And then you had one match that was all tag team eliminations. So it was crazy. They had 10 tag teams. So you want to talk chaotic. And then each time one member of the tag team was pinned, that entire tag team got eliminated. So the main event in 1987, the debut of Survivor Series, you had Team Andre the Giant versus Team Hulk Hogan. And as I just said, this was coming off the heels of probably one of the most iconic WrestleMania moments of ever, which was Hogan versus Andre. And as I said before, looking back at some of these eliminations, in this very match, Hulk Hogan is actually eliminated by a count out. So he never gets pinned, he never gets submitted, but there's shenanigans outside the ring and they don't allow him to get back in the ring. And so Hulk Hogan is actually counted out and he's eliminated from the match, which is crazy. So Team Andre, led by Andre the Giant, he pins Bam Bam Bigelow and becomes the sole survivor and the winner of the main event in the very first Survivor Series match. So I just thought that was pretty funny that Hulk Hogan was actually counted out of the very first Survivor Series match. So then you go into the next year, 1988, and this is where you see the Mega Powers. The Mega Powers is the story in wrestling for quite some time, and this is kind of the turning point. This is when, so you have Randy Macho Man Savage, Hulk Hogan, they combined to form one of the great tag teams of all time, the Mega Powers. You had Team Mega Powers versus the Twin Towers team. Now, if you remember the Twin Towers, this was Akeem, the African Dream, and the Big Boss Man. Of course, there's shenanigans, and you have Miss Elizabeth, who was kind of Randy Macho Man's valet, if you will. A lot of shenanigans outside. This is actually a pretty fun match. But Hulk Hogan, Randy Macho Man, they end up winning. They beat the Twin Towers team. And then post-match, you see Hulk Hogan kind of getting a little chummy, a little friendly with Miss Elizabeth. And so this is kind of the start of the fire that fuels Randy and kind of his heel turn to turn into like this evil guy. But you're like looking back at the whole Mega Powers Collide thing, because eventually these two will meet at WrestleMania. This was kind of the start of it. This was the start of the jealousy feud and the angle involving Miss Elizabeth. When this happens post-match, Macho gets upset and Hogan's kind of oblivious to everything because he just doesn't care. And then your Mega Powers story is off and running. So pretty cool. But I went back and I looked at some of the other kind of iconic or important Survivor Series matches or just pay-per-views. 1990, if you remember this is huge because this is the debut of The Undertaker, and he goes on to have an enormously successful career. And he debuts as the mysterious member of the $1 Million Team. If you remember the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, he was putting his team together and he had a mystery member. Well, this turned out to be The Undertaker. And so Undertaker debuting in Survivor Series 1990, huge. But there's another debut that everyone was extremely excited for, and this occurred at the exact same pay-per-view. If you remember, weeks and weeks before Survivor Series took place, again, this one was going to be on Thanksgiving, there was a large egg at various shows that was kind of sitting on set. Huge egg. It looked like, I don't know, a freaking dinosaur egg or something, like some ridiculously sized egg. And so the question was, what's this egg about? And everyone was talking about it for weeks. And then finally we get to Survivor Series 1990, and this egg starts to hatch. And out of this egg comes this giant turkey creature called the Gobbledygooker, right? And so this was probably one of the worst characters of all time because they wanted this guy to actually be able to wrestle, and it was a complete freaking disaster. I know at one point he comes down to the ring, he tries to do a move, and his mask kind of gets turned sideways, and he actually falls down, and it's just an absolute crap show, right? So this whole gobbledygooker gimmick lasts for approximately 4 weeks, and then it's sent off into the sun and you never see it again. But what are some of the other highlights I found? 1994, you actually had a casket match. And what's significant about this was a casket match between The Undertaker, who was debuted 4 years prior, and Yokozuna, which was huge at the time. What was funny about this match is none other than iconic Chuck Norris was actually a special enforcer, a special outside ring enforcer to this match. And so of course he gets involved in their shenanigans. And I was just like, Chuck Norris, that's pretty cool. So 1994 main event casket match. Look for Chuck Norris when you fire up the old the old pay-per-view in this one. And then of course 1997, I briefly hinted at this before, you have Montreal, Canada. This is a screw job that is iconic in the history of Vince McMahon, WWF. You had Bret the Hitman Hart versus Shawn Michaels. Everyone knew Bret the Hitman was going to leave. This was the story. He was champion. This was a long-running feud between him and HBK, Shawn Michaels. And so all Bret asked was that he could win this match, and then he promised that the next night on Raw, he would give up the belt because he wanted to win in his hometown, Montreal. And the story goes that Vince agreed to it. He was going to allow Bret to win this match versus Shawn Michaels, and then he would somehow lose the belt the next night. Well, that didn't actually turn out to be the case because at some point in this match, there was supposed to be a reversal. HBK puts Bret the Hitman in the sharpshooter, which is what we talked about, The Rock putting on Mankind. HBK puts this move on Bret the Hitman Hart, and according to the story, what was supposed to happen in the match was Bret was supposed to reverse this move and get HBK in the sharpshooter, and then the bell would happen and Bret would retain the belt. But what happened was HBK locks in this leg lock, this sharpshooter, puts Poison was not involved. He puts Bret the Hitman Hart in the sharpshooter, and then you see Vince run down to where the ring bell is and call for the bell. Bret doesn't tap. There's nothing going on, and you see Vince call for the bell, and next thing you know, HBK is the new champion. And so this caused absolute chaos. If you watch some of the footage, there's documentaries on this specific match. You see Bret the Hitman actually spit onto Vince McMahon, who's at ringside. If you follow what happens backstage, Vince is waiting for Bret in his office or some sort of variation on this. Bret goes in there and literally punches Vince square in the face and knocks him out cold. Yeah, this is the Montreal Screwjob, brought to you by Survivor Series 1997. So just some crazy stuff looking back through the history of Survivor Series. Another one I came up with, 2012, you had a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Now, this was awesome. CM Punk, John Cena, and who's the third participant in this match but none other than Feed Me More, Ryback. This is for the WWE Championship. CM Punk was your reigning champion. Why is this iconic? Because this is the debut of one of the most awesome, my favorite stable of all time. This is where you see the debut of The Shield. Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. They come out of the crowd. They triple power bomb Ryback through the announce table. Punk retains. And we are off and running with one of the most dominating, iconic factions in the history of wrestling. And these three will go on to do awesome stuff as singles superstars. But like, you want to talk about changing the course of history with the debut of The Shield. It started in 2012. Now, their outfits weren't the badass kind of cargo pants, vests that you were expecting to see. They came out looking like, I don't know, off-duty lawyers or something, because they were all rocking like black turtlenecks. It looked pretty bad, but they hadn't gotten the outfits down yet, but the impact was just as meaningful. And then we skip to the last one I want to highlight, 2016. We have the main event, Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. Now, if you can go back and press play on the old 3T podcast where I think it's called Why Can't We Have Nice Things? And I talk about the history of Goldberg and the last 20 years of his pathetic career and how much I can't stand him. This is the highlight of that walk down memory lane. Goldberg versus Lesnar. They were promoting the crap out of this match. And what happened? This was absolute garbage, folks. Garbage. You want to know how long the main event lasted? It was 1 minute, 26 seconds, and Goldberg wins. He literally pushes Brock Lesnar, who is like a mountain. He pushes him into the corner. So just a straight forearm shimmy. Lesnar falls down. He gets up. Goldberg hits him with a spear, hits him with a second spear, jackhammer, win, done. Match is over. Minute, 26 seconds. This match infuriated me, and it should infuriate you, but I invite you to go watch it because all you need is 90 seconds of your life, and you will know why I am so frustrated with this match. So 2016 main event, Goldberg versus Lesnar. Oh, God, I hate that match. I cannot stand Goldberg. And that's kind of the start of my long-running hatred towards his decorated career, if you will. I don't know. Those are some cool moments that I found in the history of Survivor Series. And it kind of leads us up to present day. We're going to jump ahead 9 years to present day, 2025 WarGames. This is the 4th straight year they have done this new WarGames moniker. This pay-per-view is taking place in Petco Park in San Diego. It's going to be in where the Padres play. So they're actually doing this in a baseball stadium. I'm kind of excited to see what the setup is going to be. It's going to be interesting. And like I said, the Survivor Series matches, they have kind of taken the back seat because they are doing one Survivor Series, traditional Survivor Series elimination match, but it's not even taking place on the actual pay-per-view. It's taking place on SmackDown the night before on Friday when you have Team Sammy versus Team MFT. Apparently, they don't think this is that important of a story, so they're not even putting on the pay-per-view. And so they're like, oh, yeah, we're having a traditional Survivor Series match, but it's not even on the show. Okay, whatever. I don't know. I thought that was fun to kind of hop in the DeLorean and check out some of the old school Survivor Series, the history of Survivor Series, some things that have popped up throughout time. But yeah, let's do a quick rundown of what we got going on at WarGames. There's only 4 matches on the card, 4 matches, and we start with the women's title match between Stephanie Vakir and Nikki Bella. If you've watched recent wrestling programming lately, Nikki Bella has kind of taken the heel turn. She turned on Vakir. She was supposed to be her friend, helping her through some of the nonsense. And then, of course, she levels her in the ring, and then we're off and running. And she's demanding a title shot. Who do I want to win? Stephanie Vakir. Who do I think is going to win? Stephanie Vakir. There's no way you're putting the title on Nikki Bella. Sorry, thanks for coming back, but you're just not worthy of carrying the belt. I don't know. Anyway, there's really not much more to say. If it would shock the crap out of me if they give the belt to Nikki Bella. There's no way. No chance. So next match, we have John Cena, who is your Intercontinental Champion. He has a rematch against Dirty Dom Mysterio. This is for the title. yeah, I'm loving the closing finale run of the John Cena retirement tour. Love it. I love the tournament, and we'll talk about that next week. But I love what they're doing with the last time is now tournament, and I love this little run he has with Dom Mysterio. Do I think he's going to beat Dom? Probably, but I don't know. I kind of want to go with who I want to win and who I think is going to win. I want Dom to win because I think Dom with the belt is great. And there's what does John Cena need the Intercontinental belt for? He completed the Grand Slam. Now he's owned every title. It's awesome. It was a great moment, but he really doesn't need to keep it. And kind of this is Dom's home turf. So I'd love to see Dom win in San Diego. Who do I think is going to win? If I had to bet, I think I would bet on Dom anyway, because like I said, I don't think Cena needs the belt going into his last match on December 13th in Washington, D.C. So I'm going with Dom for both. And then let's get into these war matches, the WarGames matches. Let's start with the female and the female WarGames match. We have Team Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and the last added member. This happened the other day on TV. We have AJ Lee. So she just got added to this match and they are going against the team of Nia Jax, Lash Legend, the Kabuki Warriors, and their last addition, Becky Lynch. This is awesome. I'm actually really excited about this. There's kind of a lot of stuff going on. You had the whole Charlotte Rhea thing where are they going to learn to trust each other? Can they get along? And then the last additions of AJ and Becky. I've said this before, I love the work Becky's doing. It's fan-freaking-tastic. I love to see where this is going. Who do I think is going to win? I think Team Rhea is going to win. Who do I want to win? I want Becky Lynch's team to win. I think it would go a long way toward furthering the story of, you just brought up Lash Legend. You just put the titles on the Kabuki Warriors. I think it could be good to keep the push going with that team. So that's going to be an interesting match. I can't wait to see what happens. And then what I think is going to be the main event. So I think how they're going to do this, I think the women are going to start the show. They'll probably have the two other matches. And then to close, you'll have the men's WarGames matches. So here you have Team Superheroes led by CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, and the last added member, the returning Roman Reigns. It seems like we're saying he's returning every month, but that's fine. Whatever. I understand. Against Division, so the Braun and Braun legal team, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, and their final member, Brock Lesnar. This is going to be great. I think this is going to be like a car wreck. Like you're going to see car wreck after car wreck. I think this is going to be a fantastic match. I have no idea what's going to happen in this. Who do I want to win? I am a fan of chaos, so I actually want to see the team of Division, Logan, Drew, and Brock win this. Who do I think is going to win? I think the good guys will win. I think Punk and Rhodes and Roman. How do you have those three in a match and have them lose? So I don't know. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. But I am super excited to watch this show. Probably won't be able to watch live, but we're definitely going to get to it and we're going to review it in a future episode. I'm super excited. It's really, really good show. I encourage everyone to go check it out. And then finally, card collectors, hobby enthusiasts, how are we feeling? Just on the heels of me praising Topps up and down for their Topps paper basketball product. I said I dove into some Fanatics boxes. I said it was a good product. Just after all that, everyone was super excited because Topps Chrome basketball was about to hit the shelves or actually go for pre-order. And just when I got done giving them praise, they went insane with the box prices. Did you guys see this? It was on sale for about 5 minutes, and a hobby box of Topps Chrome basketball retailed for $370. $370. And a jumbo hobby box was at $700. And I'm just like, oh, here we go again. There's no chance I'm even going to attempt to pony up to the table on this one. And it's just frustrating because I saw I saw the sell sheet. I looked over the checklist. I looked at the cards, the inserts. These cards are awesome. I want to be a part of this, but there is no chance that's what you got. No chance at all that I'm paying $700 for a jumbo hobby. And it's so frustrating. And I get it. The market is what the market is. And if people are willing to pay it, then what the heck does it matter what I have to say? But I think there's a ton of people who are in my shoes who are just like, what? $700? $370 for a hobby? Are you crazy? Like, That's just not ever in the cards for most people who are in this hobby, in this space. And so the breakers gobbled them up, and who knows what we're seeing these same boxes already being advertised on eBay for $1,000, $1,100, $1,200. It's like we've lost our minds. We've lost our minds. And I was super excited about the product, and it's crazy frustrating when it's one thing if you can't get it because EQL or the product's gone by the time you're up to bat. But I don't know. When you can't even step up to the plate because you're completely priced out already, that's super frustrating. So what else is going on? I finally got to open my Topps Update Baseball hobby box. Jumbo hobby. This is the first time I actually got a jumbo. And like I said, comparatively, I think I spent $180 on a jumbo hobby of Topps Update Baseball, which I'm not saying it's the same. It's in the same realm, but you go from 180, 190, 200 to 700 for basketball. I mean, I could buy 3 of these for the price of that. What are we talking about here? It was a fun rip. I had a good time. I made a YouTube video. If you can, go check it out. It's a good time. What else we got going on? I saw this coming up, and I'm kind of thinking about diving in. So I know this is a lower end if money were no object, but this is going to be my if money were no object buy of the week. This is the Game of Thrones, the Great Houses trading card box set. I'm actually kind of excited about this. It's a small base set. It's only 61 cards, and you get characters from all the major houses in Game of Thrones. There's some really cool autos, some really cool dual autographs, some good relic autos, some triple quad autos. I mean, some of your main players. This is only $150. You get 24 packs, 5 cards per pack, which is what? That's 120 cards, quick math. And I'm looking over the sell sheet of this, and it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. I'm not sure I would want a George R.R. Martin auto, but hey, it's there for the taking. But also Pedro Pascal, Kit Harington, Amelia Clark, they sign all these cards. Obviously, Pascal had a quite gruesome death on the show. Spoiler alert, but if you haven't checked out Game of Thrones, I highly recommend it. It's awesome. Yeah, this might be something I'm gonna be diving into just because it looks like a ton of fun. The cards look pretty good. And there is a quad auto card that features, I think, most of the Stark children, all 4 Stark children. So, and then Jon Snow added to it. I don't know. It's pretty neat. There's also some hand-drawn sketch cards, which just look pretty fire. So I'm excited for this. For $150, are you kidding me? Why not? Plus, if money were no object by the week, yeah, we're going to go with that. But I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the 3 Ts. I appreciate everyone stopping in and checking it out. If you can, hit that like, hit that follow, share this podcast with someone you know, whether they are a lonely Bills Mafia member at this time, whether they enjoy the world of professional wrestling or whether they are a card enthusiast. It don't matter. Help your boy out. Share it with somebody you know who would give me a like, give me a follow, leave a comment wherever you can. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Take some time, step away from your hobbies for a minute, spend some time with your family and friends, and just dive in, enjoy that cranberry sauce. And as always, I appreciate you all very, very much.
So until next time, whether it's ripping packs, breaking tables, or dropping elbows, keep doing what you love. And as always, go Bills.